Action for Our Future really supports the Australian curriculum, in particular the sustainability priority component, because the sustainability priority explores issues such as critically reflecting on past and present behaviours, individual and collective action. It also explores local and global perspectives. It also encourages students to look at preferred futures, and in looking at those preferred futures, it's looking at the big picture. So taking everything into account, not just looking through a narrow lens. And it's also providing them with informed actions that they can take to achieve that preferred future.
The Parliament of Youth on Sustainability Action for Our Future project requires students to develop and use a broad range of skills that cut across many areas of the curriculum.
I suppose the exciting thing about the concept of the Youth Parliament is that we have an opportunity for all areas of the curriculum to become involved. So I worked with the science students, and they had an opportunity to, in physics and chemistry, in biology and general science, they were all able to get involved if they wanted to. In our school, our architectural drawing people got involved, and they designed new landscapes for different parts of the community that would be much more sustainable, and they really enjoyed that. But I can see an opportunity for our art students to design posters for campaigns, our media students to put together videos, our online videos and that sort of thing to promote their ideas, for our technology students to actually build new pieces of technology such as a solar oven or a hot water heater to demonstrate what can be done, for our mathematics students to demonstrate the economics of a sustainable way of operating. And I think the most exciting one would be our drama students actually taking a concept that they've developed and putting it into a drama production to try and use entertainment to get the message across.
In 2013, primary school, high school and college groups took part in the Parliament, with teachers adopting a variety of ways to include the project in their programs.
So I did the Parliament of Youth with my 5-6 cohort, and so that's 11 and 12-year-olds. So we picked one of the 19 sustainability topics, the one that sort of most appealed to us, which was food. We found a fantastic website that allowed us to calculate the carbon footprint of different food that we'd imported. So we asked the kids at the beginning of the unit to put together a recipe for a pizza, and then using that recipe we calculated the carbon footprint of that pizza and found out that it was huge. Then the other thing we did was, as part of that, was a group task where the kids had to come up with an advertisement to promote what people could do in the ACT in order to reduce their carbon footprint around food.
Stop carbon emissions! A healthy world starts with us!
If you eat less meat, you will help reduce carbon emissions. Eat chickpeas instead.
Buy locally produced food and grow your own fruit and vegetables in your garden.
The advertisements that the children put together, the 5-6ers put together, were shown at house group meetings, and then the whole school voted on which one they liked the best, and the 3 winners were announced and came forward to be presented at the Parliament. It worked very much like politicians in that the people that were presenting the ideas had to be briefed by the people who'd come up with the ideas.
I had 2 classes of level 1 students in year 10, total 60, and I set them the green paper as an essay length assignment. It tied in with the curriculum that I was teaching. There's a unit called Global Systems associated with the new Australian curriculum for year 10. So it basically made the connection between the physics of climate change, particularly the enhanced greenhouse effect, and then making the connection through to what can actually improve things in the future by cutting carbon emissions. Well, I told them that it was a competition and that the best ones would actually be chosen to be Darramala's representatives at the Parliament. They turned their green paper into sometimes a PowerPoint presentation, sometimes a short video. Once they actually got to the Parliament, it was a whole different ball game because they had these great ideas, but the point of the Parliament was, could they actually convince others that their ideas were right? And so it was the political process which was probably the most valuable thing of the whole Parliament process.
It was a science unit for years 3-4. So primary school setting, we had a science unit looking at forces in nature, patterns in nature, and we were going to look at it as weather. So we extended that curriculum into global warming. And the kids learned all about the greenhouse effect. We did activities in our classroom where we melted icebergs. And then we said, well, what can we do to combat this? So we went from a learning phase to an action phase. They realized that planting more plants and trees would help combat climate change, and they wanted to turn this dead patch of grass at the front of our school into a garden. Right away, we needed to be talking about a native garden with native plants. Otherwise, it took too much water to keep it going. And we came up with the idea of creating an e-book about the whole experience. So I had all these photographs of the whole process, and I had all their work. So we chose which pieces, which photographs we liked, and then the kids wrote a chronicle, basically a retelling of the whole thing. And then the great thing with an ebook is you can actually record the children reading it. So that was great speaking skills as well. And that turned into our 5-minute presentation.
For college level students, what we did, knowing that the Youth Parliament was coming up, we were able to design a specific assessment item that all students in the class had to complete, and it was assessed and would contribute towards their unit scores. But we were also able to use that to identify the best green papers, because they all had to write green papers to achieve that. So for chemistry, they were doing Year 11 chemistry, and one of the themes was water. So they were given the task that had to look at the way water was used in the ACT. They had to go and assess the water physically, so they had a practical component, and then they had to write the green paper. And as a group, we chose the best green papers to go forward.
I teach sustainability at Marici College, and it's an elective. And last year for the Parliament of Youth, so the 2013 Parliament of Youth, my Year 9-10 class participated. And the way we participated in the Parliament was by integrating the project with an assessment task. Our first project was on food, and students had to record everything they ate for 3 days as a food diary, and they also had to look at food waste in their own home. And they had to calculate the carbon footprint of their diet from their diary, and they had to make a film about food waste. And then they had to come up with ways they could reduce the carbon footprint of their diet. So we used the C-Change template in class to actually generate proposals and ideas. So the second project was on energy. So students conducted an energy audit of the school, and they had to come up with ways that they could reduce their energy use. And it was quite astounding looking at how much energy the school used, just even looking at 45 fluorescent lamps in a classroom and working out how much energy that requires was really an education for the students, because then you multiply that across the whole school and the energy use is very large.
The Action for Our Future teacher resources provide a starting point for accessible information on the current thinking around climate change. For these and more 2020 Vision teaching resources, go to the 2020 Vision pages on the C-Change website. If you would like to register for the Parliament of Youth on Sustainability Action for Our Future project, please email the project officer at 2020vision@c-change.org.au.